I'm going to start with a little bit of housekeeping first. In case nature called, the toilet is on exit to the right, and in case of a fire, do not follow those with high heels. You've got the team at the Leagues Club who will actually guide you through the process. So I would like to invite first to the stage Andrew Hill. He's the New South Wales Public Relations Secretary of the Salvation Army, to say the grace.
Good morning. Will you bow your heads and pray as we give thanks for this breakfast this morning? Father God, we just thank you for this gathering this morning. God, we thank you, and we think of this at this time, those who are struggling with the cost of living, with homelessness, with a loss of hope, Lord. And we thank you that this morning these generous people have gathered to just come and lean into that situation and help others that are struggling, Lord. Lord, as we eat this morning, let us give thanks for the nourishment that it brings. And Lord, again, I thank you for the generosity in this room. I pray this in your name. Amen.
And to the politicians also, have you heard what Andrew just said? All right, so there are a lot of people who have been attending this event year on year, but this one is for those who are new, and there's a lot of new people attending today. So the Northern Beaches Annual Fundraiser is an event where local charitable organizations get together to raise much needed funds for a different cause every single year. This initiative started in 2018 to assist our Aussie farmers affected with the drought. In 2019, we sought to bring hope to the Northern Beaches families for Christmas. And in 2020, we got hit by COVID-19. In 2021, we did the homelessness on the Northern Beaches, followed in 2022 by the family domestic violence. And now, in 2023, we are raising the issues faced by our children and the youth and how to support them. I'm hoping that we can all make a small change to the lives of those who will be the future of our community and the foundation of our society. It has been a tough couple of years on everyone, especially our children. But together we can bring relief to them, their parents and their families that have been struggling the most, and help our local community. Organizing this big event annually and assisting individuals approaching us on the back of every single event we're running year on year, it triggered the need of a more solid ground, resources, and a committed team to keep it going and serving the community. And this is how the Lone Wolf Pack Incorporated was born. It is a not-for-profit organization aimed at assisting the vulnerable in our community who do not fall into any category of the larger charities. We are here to tackle loneliness, the root evil of many mental health disorders, low self-esteem, depression, suicide, radicalization, mental illness, and many more. We are here to work with everyone for the welfare of our community and a healthy environment. So, by the way, today, if you buy any raffle tickets or anything you see on your statement, the Lone Wolf Pack, you haven't been hacked. So this is what it is. So first, I would like to say thank you to two ladies who are here with us in the room, Michelle Trelaw and Joanne Oakley from Aspect Legal, for working on our constitution and answering the millions of questions I have. For those who work with me, you know what does that look like. I would also like to ask my board members present here today to stand up. I've got Ruth Wumbacher. Where is she? She's selling raffles. All right. So Ruth Wumbacher, she's the deputy chair. Daniel Dama. Where's Daniel? Daniel Dama is our secretary, and we've got Tony. Tony is our public officer, and our treasurer, Amy Tenty, is currently on maternity leave. So if you would like to be part of this pack, you are more than welcome. Just reach any one of us. Now I'm going to start with the thank yous. For 3 years in a row, the Manly Leagues Club has been the 100% sponsor of this event, which means that this venue, staff, food, marketing, everything is covered by the Leagues Club. And this is how we were able to help as many people as we can and many charities that we could. So thank you so much to Julian Bova, the CEO, to the board of the Leagues Club, and the team also, where now the Leagues Club had become my second family. Seriously, I walk in here, everybody knows me now. So thank you so much. And the other good news is that the Leagues Club also had offered to do the event again in 2024. So thank you again. Thank you to the Salvation Army and the Rotary Club of Warringah, who have been part of this event since its inception in 2018. Now to our guests. Our main guest speaker today is the Honourable Michael Sukkar, who came from Victoria, that other state. He is the Federal Member for Deakin, the Shadow Minister for Social Services, the Shadow Minister for the NDIS, the Shadow Minister for Housing, and Shadow Minister for Homelessness. We will also have a panel of speakers. So we've got Moran Bailey, she's a People and Culture Leader, Tony Lugran from Zero Risk International, Nikki Thompson from Taldumandi Youth Service, Carissa Ainsworth from the Salvation Army. Thank you so much for your time, and you will hear from them a little bit later. To our guests, Dr. Sophie Scamps, Federal Member for Makela, the Honourable Natasha McLaren-Jones, MLC, Shadow Minister for Families and Communities, Shadow Minister for Disability Inclusion, Shadow Minister for Homelessness, and Shadow Minister for Youth. James Griffin, MP, Shadow Minister for Energy and Climate Change, and Shadow Minister for Customer Service and Digital Government. Matt Cross, MP, Member for Davidson. Michael Regan, MP, Member for Wakehurst. He used to be the mayor. And now got replaced by an amazing woman, Mayor Sue Hines. And thank you to all the councillors from the Northern Beaches Council. Thank you to Graham Little, President of DYRSL. We've got Brenton Hush, the National Chief Operating Officer for the HSBC Bank, Australia, and John Ringwood. So listen to this. So John Ringwood, apparently, because he was meant to give us the bags, he apparently raided the other HSBC branches to get enough bags to bring them yesterday. And he took the task upon himself to fill them all up, so I had to call him the bag manager. So if anyone is missing a pen or anything, I refer you to John. Trevor Sargent, Chair of the Community Bank Freshwater. Thank you also to Yvette Burford representing Steadfast and Steadfast Foundation, and all the not-for-profit organizations who are present with us today. I'm not going to call you because there's too many of us here. Not to forget our media sponsor, so Oz Arab Media and Sawaki Group. So as we speak now, the event is broadcasted live. So you would have a lot of people doing interviews with you, so make sure that you said the right thing about me. About the event, and make sure also to promote your businesses. So this is an opportunity for everybody. Northside Living is here with us in the room, and I would also like to thank the Manly Observer, Murex Media for promoting the event leading up to today. Michael Mannington, OAM, he has been shooting the event since 2018. And all those photos are the one actually that year on year we go back to and remember how we started and where we are at now. So Michael, thank you so much for your dedication year on year. Ray, for the audiovisual, and Chrissy Sabidis for all the digital marketing. You can see all those people donating their time, their efforts and their resources for the success of such a huge event. So thank you to every single one of you here with us in the room, because without you there's no event, and without you there's no money for us to help others. I'm going to also mention today the 8 stall holders that are at the back. So we've got Women and Children First, we've got Mum for Mum, Fisher Road School, Community Bank Freshwater, Chaldomandi Youth Services, Zero Risk International, Rotary Club of Balliala, and Queen Bee. So please make sure to visit those people, see the services that they provide to our community, and have a chat to them. So event logistics. What are you doing? What are you laughing about?
Michael, I'm sitting next to Michael.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. All right, so the logistics. So there's different activities where we can collect money. So we have the silent auctions in the corner there. You've got the sheets, you can put your bid on it and go high as you can. We will have one live auction coming up. We've got obviously the donations. On your tables there are raffle tickets and an envelope. For those who still have something called cash, you can use the envelopes. The ticket for $10, the 3 tickets for $20, and we've got Ruth and Carla walking around selling tickets. And also we will have a lucky draw prize. So if you have your business card, still the actual business card, not the digital one that can be put in a fishbowl, you can do that and then you could win a lucky draw prize. Again, on your tables, every single year we used to have the flowers that somebody pick up. This year we've got a little hamper from Queen Bee. So the hamper is for $150. $100 goes to us and $50 goes to Queen Bee to cover the expenses. So I would love to, every single one of you table, buy one. This way we don't have to take them back. So thank you so much, and thank you for Queen Bee for being here with us. The good news so far, as of probably 1 a.m. this morning, we have raised $8,011. So this is a start, and I hope that we will obviously do a lot more today. There will be 3 beneficiaries from this event, and I will announce them at the end of the breakfast after the raffle. And now I would like to introduce our first guest speaker, the Honourable Michael Sukkar MP, Federal Member for Deakin, Shadow Minister for Social Services, Shadow Minister for the NDIS, Minister for Housing, and Shadow Minister for Homelessness.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Wendy, for that wonderful introduction, and it's wonderful to see such a full room here for breakfast meeting for a really important cause, and let's hope that we're able to raise a lot more money this morning for the beneficiaries that Wendy will soon announce. Can I also begin by just thanking the really impressive level of political representation that's here to start with. It's not often that I go to events like this around the country and we have such a large contingent of really senior state MPs and of course federal MPs and local government as well. So in particular to my federal parliamentary colleague Sophie Scompes, it's wonderful to see you here. Sophie, we normally just see each other in the chamber in Canberra, so this is a nice little change for us. And my great friends and phenomenally hard-working local representatives, James Griffin, who I saw this morning, Matt Cross, Natasha McLaren-Jones. It's remarkable how often I'm in Sydney and I see either Matt or particularly James and Natasha, who are working so hard as part of a team that I think make me very proud as a federal parliamentarian, and of course always a little bit of healthy competition between New South Wales and Victoria, but it's wonderful to see James, Matt and Natasha, to Michael Regan as well, Sue Hines, wonderful to see you, Sue. I said to Sue in a joking way, will all the problems end up on your desk? Because you know, the feds have got all the money, the state have got all the power, and local government have got all the problems. So wonderful to see your support here too, Sue. And wonderful to see my old friend and parliamentary colleague, Bronwyn Bishop. Bronwyn, thank you for coming out to a breakfast. I'm more accustomed to just seeing Bronwyn on Sky News now. Every time I switch it on, it seems like. But thank you for supporting this really important cause. In thinking about what on earth would be of any interest to people to speak about over breakfast, given that this year the emphasis is on our youth and supporting, I assume, Wendy will announce, causes to assist younger people in our community, I felt that probably focusing on one part of my portfolio was appropriate, and that is the housing component. As has been introduced, I've got a pretty diverse range of portfolios in a shadow sense, and that is social services, which is about 40% of the federal budget, NDIS, which, as we all know, is a huge scheme that's supporting 600,000 people and their families. So they're two big parts of what I do. But the housing component, I think, is really important for the next generation of Australians. And in reflecting on what we can do for younger Australians, I think it's a mistake at any level of government, or indeed any part of our community, to think of younger Australians as some discrete little group that require discrete different policies. In the end, every single person in this room, some are young, but were young at one point in time, and the issues that young Australians will face, to some extent, will be similar to those that we faced, and there'll be obviously new challenges into the future. But what should we overwhelmingly do for our younger Australians? I think we need to sell them hope. And that became very clear to me, particularly during COVID. In Victoria, we had the world's longest lockdowns, and to your eternal credit, there were many millions of Victorians like me looking north of the border, wishing we had a government like you had here that more competently dealt with a very serious global pandemic. But at that time, I saw this sapping of hope amongst young Australians. In my portfolio of housing, I see that manifests itself in a way that younger Australians now, I would say overwhelmingly, feel as though that aspiration to own a home is far-fetched, is one that they might be able to achieve if they do exceptionally well, but is far removed from the hope that I suspect most of us had growing up. Indeed, probably an expectation that we would study, we'd work hard, and then we'd be able to own that little slice of our country as our own, being our own home. And so what I think, to be frank, is one aspect of that story of hope is that aspirational hope that I think young Australians still harbour, which is to have all of the opportunities that their parents and their grandparents had. And so I think the great challenge of our time is ensuring that that practical element of hope is manifest in the aspiration, the economic aspiration of those young Australians. I also think, and it's not particularly politically correct to say this these days, although I think it's very mainstream, I think a good starting point is to emphasise a great pride in our country. And all you have to do is turn the news on each night, particularly at the moment, to see, quite frankly, the depressing and deeply troubling conflict occurring in the Middle East, with a terrorist organisation in one corner, to lose that sense of hope for our future. I think the one thing I would want to see emphasised more strongly through our education system, indeed from the people in this room, is a great pride in the institutions of this country that have meant that Australia enjoys some of the greatest prosperity and stability in the world. It's not by accident that Australia, with the rule of law and democracy and a foundation of capitalism, has been a beacon for millions of migrants, including my family, and that will continue to provide that bedrock of hope, as I keep emphasising, to the next generation of Australians. So in the lead up to the next election, and this is not a political speech, but I think it's a relevant issue, as relevant for Sophie as it is for me, and indeed anybody that's thinking about our future. I think we need a really clear-eyed way forward on home ownership for Australians. Now, not everybody will choose to own their own home. Throughout Australian history, that's never been the case. At our peak, about 71% of Australians own their own home. It's now down to about 66%. But I think at every level of government, we've got to focus on levelling the playing field for younger people, giving them that realistic aspiration. And when I say realistic, I mean you shouldn't have to be a surgeon or an investment banker to have the opportunity to own a home. In this country, I think most of us really pride ourselves on the egalitarianism that we have. My view is if you work hard at any job, you should have a realistic aspiration of owning your own home. And that won't always mean that you own a harbourside mansion, but that you have some part of this country that you can call your own. I think for too long in Australian public policy, we've taken for granted the idea of home ownership, and we find ourselves in the situation we are now. We've got a very large migration program with really no understanding of or no way of marrying up the housing stock that is going to support not only that migration program, but indeed the growing need for housing that we have in this country. So in the lead up to the next election, I'll be talking a lot about that. And that's sort of the political side of it, but I get back to my starting point. It's one component of that story of hope. And when you're a young person now, I mean, it's quite scary for me. I'm a bit of a dinosaur with these things. Reading about AI, when you're a young person now reading about AI and its impact on the way of work and the way that we'll interact into the future, you can understand why that causes deep anxiety for young people. And that's because technological change and advancements are moving so quickly. They're moving at a pace that we've not seen before. And that, I think, exacerbates that sense of anxiety and at times helplessness. Am I going to be able to chart my own course, or am I going to be sort of like a bottle in the ocean, going with the tide of these large movements of technology and other advancements? And so, for me, it's all about hope. And how do we sell that to people? And young people. The other thing I'd say in highlighting, I think, the self-evident truth that we shouldn't treat young people or youth policy as if it's some kind of discrete and alien group of people. That is sensible public policy that does not indebt the next generation of Australians. I quite often think that large borrowing and big debt at a government level, in the end, is just a tax on the next generation. Borrowing now to pay for things now that will be ultimately funded by the taxes of people into the future. So good budget policy, in my view, is good youth policy. And I think every government should be really attuned to that fact It's obviously we're coming from a period when I was assistant treasurer, we ran huge deficits during COVID in order to save the productive capacity of this country. Indeed, we supported 800,000 jobs through JobKeeper. But that's got to be repaid, and it'll be a generation of younger taxpayers who in the end will be repaying that. So in that aspiration of hope for young people, I think that's going to be really important. And finally, I would just say, and this is probably an experience that I more keenly feel coming out of Victoria, that is the issue of mental health for younger Australians. Now, I would never try to look at this in a clinical way because I'm not qualified to do so, but so many of the issues that I see when visiting schools, when meeting with students on university campuses, is that hangover of a period where for 2 years in Victoria at least, people were not able to go about their lives at a really important time. You think about the year 12 students during COVID who weren't able to meet all those really important milestones, those things that we all took for granted. The graduation ball, the O-Week celebrations starting university. I think that has sent a message to a generation of younger Australians that, our freedom is pretty fragile, that our society can be upended very quickly and very easily under certain circumstances. And I think that just adds to that anxiety. So I'll just finish by saying that I want to congratulate the Rotary Club of Warringah, the Salvation Army. Thank you to the Manly Leagues Club and the Wolf Pack, or the Lone Wolf Pack, for putting this on. I think all of the MPs in the room would agree, and indeed your Mayor would agree, that the strength of our community, the strength of our country is not found in its formal institutions, it's not found necessarily in its governments, but it's found in rooms like this, private organisations coming together, groups of people who are devoted to serving their community and therefore serving their country. And I think that's the final message for young Australians. Yes, we've got to sell them hope and pride in our country. Yes, we've got to ensure that they have a realistic opportunity to meet their aspirations for the future. But we also need to emphasise, in a highly individualised society, that getting involved in a community organisation like Rotary, volunteering your time, is so beneficial to the person themselves, and it helps us look beyond ourselves and our own needs, and helps, I think, give great perspective. And one of the things I must say that I hear wherever I travel around our country is how difficult it is to get younger people to participate in voluntary organisations that we all took for granted for years, whether it was the Lions Club or the Rotary Club. And I think that spirit of volunteerism, it is there, it's latent, it's there with our young Australians, but we should emphasise the benefits that they will receive from giving as well. And you all will attest to that, I'm sure, in your own lives. That by volunteering, by giving back, you take out as much as you put in. And I think in that spirit of supporting the next generation, that is a really important way forward. I don't necessarily think government can mandate that. I don't think there's necessarily a role for government there. But a spirit of giving, a spirit of volunteerism, I think is a really crucial component to ensuring that our next generation of Australians are going to be able to build upon what they've inherited, which is no doubt the best country in the world, and improve it even further. And so I would just say to, whether it's the Rotary Club or indeed any organisation represented in this room, that you do have, I think, an important duty to do everything you can to engage younger people into that habit of volunteering. And it is a habit. And we saw during COVID that when people got out of the habit, it was very hard to get them back into it. But I think giving our younger Australians that perspective and harnessing their talents, I think will ultimately benefit them as much as it will benefit our community. So thank you everyone who's supported this cause again this year. I'm really looking forward to hearing who the beneficiaries are of all of your fundraising. I hope that the one thing you take away from this is our duty and our obligation to impose and indeed instill, rather than impose, a sense of hope in our next generation of Australians, and that will manifest itself in that economic aspiration and home ownership in my portfolios, but will manifest itself in a range of ways that you will all have your own perspective on. So thank you, Wendy. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate being invited to this morning's breakfast. Thank you.
All right. So just first I would like to apologize to the Honourable Bronwyn Bishop because I haven't mentioned you before. I'm sorry, I missed it. So the Honourable Bronwyn Bishop has been a great supporter of this event since 2018, and year on year Bronwyn has been attending this event non-stop, and we look forward to seeing you in 2024, Bronwyn. One thing, the individuals who bought their tickets online, you should have received them by now in envelopes, but it doesn't matter because your name is already in the barrel here. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a break. During the break, we will go around to collect your money, honey. And if you're purchasing those boxes, please let us know and then we can process that for you. So there will be myself, Ruth and Carla walking around, so give you some break, have your breakfast, and we will start again in 5